Battle Brothers is a game I have mentioned previously on this channel. In that game, you control a mercenary group as you accept various jobs and contracts in a procedurally generated world. I overall enjoy the game from a conceptual point of view, but the overall brutal difficulty, even at the easiest levels, has prevented me from giving it a full recommendation. The reason why I bring this up is because how good the concept is. I've wanted another studio to take a stab at the concept and see what can ultimately they can come up with. This brings us to today's early access title, Wartales by Shiro Games. Looking at the studio's pedigree, they were the ones responsible for the fairly successful strategy game known as Northgard, which also started out in early access. Knowing that, I was even more excited to finally get my hands on Wartales and see what they can come up with. Will it be another ambitious title that falls too short? Or will it be a shining beacon of tactics and camaraderie? As a disclaimer, I did receive a free code from Shiro Unlimited. While I do appreciate the free code, it will not deter me from a fair and honest review. Sounds good? Let's begin. So you start the game by selecting your origin, a benefit, and a drawback. So I picked farmers who have 1 axeman, 2 spearmen, and an archer. I did this mainly since I like polearms, so I wanted to go with this start. Want to have 2 for the mid range, 1 close range, and 1 for the far range with the archer. So I figured it was a pretty good start. And as I mentioned before, along with your origin, you can pick 1 additional bonus and a drawback. So for my bonus, I picked an increase in health because I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't want any of my guys to die and have to start the progress over again by getting someone new and leveling them up and all that stuff. And a decrease in critical hit chance, since I was like, let me just have a strategy in base damage, and that'll be what I'm going to do going forward. So I started on the world map, but I ended up getting into a battle right away, so I'll just talk about the battle system first. And the game didn't have any tutorials when I was recording this, when I was playing at first, but thankfully tutorials have been added, so it's much easier to understand the game and how things work. But honestly, it's not that difficult. The first thing you need to know is to place your squad mates and then choose 1 character to move and attack. And even early on, what I really like about this game more than I do Battle Brothers is each character really does specialize in their own thing. You'll notice that even here at the lowest level, level 1 for everyone, you'll notice stuff like spears doing more damage when hitting at a further range. So if someone's close and you try to hit with a spear, it's not as effective as if they were further away. You'll do double damage there. Maces are strong against armor, so you want to have your mace people fight that. And axes are pretty good, causing bleeding. So it's stuff like that that really exemplify the specialities of each troop, even early on, before I even get into the leveling system and specializing them further. You also have AP, which is used for special abilities and actions. So this can be replenished during battle with certain moves, depending on how you set up your party, and also outside of battle when you rest and other things. And doing well once you get past a certain point will allow your squad to become galvanized, which basically they do double damage, and it adds into the camaraderie of the game. So it's really all about trying to get that momentum, defeat enough enemies so your squad gets galvanized and they're able to just sweep through for the rest. And the music definitely swells up and it takes advantage of that, so it's pretty awesome when it happens. I just honestly really enjoy the battles, and it's a big part of what kept me playing. Now, for the most part, most of your battles will be fighting a squad of humans, but there is a decent variety. One of them, you'll also run into monsters, and for one of the ones that I got was assaulting a rat's nest. But my favorite is when you're taking on a champion, basically one overpowered unit, and it's almost a little ridiculous how overpowered these battles can be. But this is, to me, when the tactics really shine, because it's like you really have to use your numbers and use everyone's abilities to the best. And I really enjoyed these battles, trying to take down a bigger opponent and just seeing what's the best way to do it, how to counter it, how to prevent getting hit from his attacks, and how, the succession everyone should go. These were a lot of fun for me, but unfortunately they are few and far in between. Although it is very rewarding because you do get some unique gear once you accomplish them. So if you do see them, take them out. But just understand it's one hell of a battle. So after the battle, you'll get your pick of the litter. You'll get some loot to pick up depending on how it goes. I'm actually not too sure what exactly determines the loot you can pick up, because sometimes you'll find like a nice armor or a nice weapon, other times it's just food or bodies to find. But anyways, so you're back to the overworld map afterwards, and you'll have to repair your armor too. And it's a semi-sandbox from here on out, so you can go wherever you want, but it's better to follow the main scenario of the area you're currently in, and we'll get into that later, the main scenario and how that plays out. So money early on is very scarce, especially because you need to pay your people every 3 days. So I recommend to just visit the tavern of the main town in the area. Try to get missions as quickly as possible, and like I said, the missions are about what you would expect for this kind of game. Basically taking out some bandits, assaulting a fort, exterminating rats, etc, etc. But depending on how you play and what paths and actions you ultimately take, can open up some new opportunities. So I'm not going to talk about that stuff too much here, because I want to keep that under wraps, but there's a lot of cool things you can get from playing certain ways. The towns also contain merchants to buy and sell goods, as well as blacksmiths to repair your equipment, as well as to make equipment, but we'll get into that later as well. I recommend here not only to get the missions so you can make money, is also to buy some repairing materials to use after battles, because some of these battles that you get in are going to be very tough, and it's going to leave a lot of your equipment damaged. So it's good to have this stuff to fix your armor. So as I just briefly mentioned, it's not just randomly generated missions, and also to add on to that, the world itself is not randomly generated. It's actually, from what I can see, or procedurally generated. From what I can see, it's actually handcrafted, which is awesome. So each area will have missions based on the storyline of that area. So the actions that you take from each mission can lead you to a different rewards and path. So if there's like two factions fighting against each other, and each mission that you do will, determining what actions you take can help one faction or the other. Just giving an example here, and it could lead you down to different paths, as I mentioned. So that's what I find pretty awesome. And it really, this is where to me, where it can show what kind of mercenary party you are. Are you the kind that just chase the money and whoever's the highest bidder you'll go to? Or do you have a sense of honor and pride and you just stick with the contract and you want to complete it regardless of what it is? Or do you want to be somebody who just mainly sticks to helping good people and will only do good things? It's all up to you to ultimately determine that. The only problem is when you complete these missions, you get a border pass to enter another area free of charge. Technically, you can pay to enter other areas, but it almost doesn't make sense to do so. I'm okay with this structure. I can kind of see where they're going with it, but it just feels a bit artificial in progression. Like, okay, you have to do this in order to move on to the next part, which is weird because this is supposed to be like a sandbox, or at least has a lot of sandbox elements. So it's a little weird on why they do it, but I understand that they don't want to push the player too far. They want to, ease the player in. So I understand one way, but yeah. Eventually the party will get fatigued and will need to rest from traveling and battling, and you could either sleep at an inn or you can establish a camp. And at the camp you can assign comrades to each area of the camp. Some improve the happiness, increase the amount of AP you start off with a fight, etc, etc. You can also cook here if you build the right equipment. You'll need to basically eat a specific amount of food in order to rest. And this is also the place where you get to pay your mercenaries, and as I said before, it's every 3 days, which is why you need to make that cash money, boy. So better get to it. You also can level up your squad mates, as I mentioned, from battling and questing and all that stuff. Will provide experience points as well as other things that they do. And there's honestly a nice variety of options to play with in terms of skill trees. And from what I can tell and gather, the skill tree isn't even complete, since you're basically stuck at the highest level so far is level 5. So there's still a lot more that they're gonna add and expand, which is awesome. One of my spearmen I ended up making into a pikeman. The other one passed away, unfortunately, but she honestly became a very integral part of my team. She has the ability to set up a pike wall, so if any enemy was to walk into there, she would just instantly stab them and that would end their turn. It was invaluable, especially for in certain battles, in order to take down enemies as quickly as possible. So She was definitely one of my tops, and that's just one of my characters. You know, I had other characters that I had one character that had a two-handed sword, and this dude was just cleaving through enemies. Like, just this guy was just like basically was just designed to hit as many people as possible in one fell swoop, and it was awesome. So I really, again, that's another thing I really enjoy, is every character really does feel unique, and it's not like Battle Brothers where every character eventually has to be the same way or they're just going to get killed. So outside of the combat, you can also assign professions to each troop, and one of these examples is being a blacksmith, as I mentioned, and it involved a mini game on timing your clicks when the yellow appears to make better quality weapons and armor. Side note, I also will recommend that you get good armor as soon as you're able to do so, and as soon as your characters are able to use light, medium, or heavy armor, get that ASAP, because armor will save you and keep you guys from getting killed. And this is something I really appreciate. You know, instead of just having it be a random number if you're going to get good or bad equipment, it's nice to have a little mini game here. And this is not the only one. I mean, fishing has its own mini game, mining has its own mini game, all this stuff. So it's really a nice touch, and really feels like you're getting a lot more for your money. So again, really appreciate this. But wait, there's more. One thing that you can really do is you can enter into different locations and find secrets within. So for example, you can go up to a house and end up finding a key in that house, and using that key to access like an underground bunker, or go to a cave and finds out that there's like a secret stash within it. I really like this explorative element in the game, and again, it just feels like it adds more and, you know, prevents repetition, because it always feels like there's way more to do. There's a lot more stuff here on offer than just go out, accept mission, fight, and move on. There's a lot to it, and I really enjoy that aspect of this game. So if you want to leave now, I did enjoy the game and I do recommend it. But I do have some issues with the game, and one of the biggest issues that has been talked about is the level scaling. Enemies will scale to your level and party size with the more people you recruit and the stronger you get. And once again, this hurts that sandbox feel of things, because it makes it seem punishing if you level up too fast, because then the parties and enemies that you have to face will be at a higher level. But thankfully this will be addressed in a future update to make it more sandboxy. So maybe you'll run a couple of level 1s, level 2s, or whatever, and maybe it's level 5 or 6, but you stay away from that. It should feel like that, instead of, okay, I'm leveling up to 6 and now it's like every battle's still going to take me forever because now everyone's at level 6. It's stuff like that that I really hope that they address. I mean, personally, I didn't have any issues when in terms of the difficulty. Like, I was doing well on normal, but I can see on hard, and if the, you know, on Iron Man and hard difficulties, this could probably be frustrating, especially if you end up running into some bandits and stuff like that, like some huge bandits. So I definitely I understand, but like I said, I was doing well enough. But yeah, address the issue, basically all I gotta say. I also ran into some early access glitches that are expected, although the level of polish is way better than most early access games I've played. The music seems to just randomly stop during battles and doesn't properly loop. Like, it'll go through it and then stop, and then all of a sudden it'll play again. It doesn't happen actually no, it does happen a good amount of times. I just don't know why it does it. I also had a few game-breaking bugs, not very often, so basically just crash the desktop and all that. And sometimes I would just have it freeze on a turn or something like that, but most of the time it would just be fixed by, you know, starting the game back up. But if you do run into some issues, just know that, you know, it is possible that you could have some issues. So as I said before, I overall highly recommend it. I mean, the combat and managing your party is honestly a ton of fun. I was able to really get close to my characters, and just seeing what they bring to the table and how they feel, everyone feeling so unique and different variety of builds and ways to play to try out, is just a lot of fun. I didn't even talk about being a bandit and like going down that dark path, or you know, stuff like that to really you know, add to it. But like I said, there's a lot of secrets and a lot of things that I didn't want to mention here, just because I want you guys to discover and ultimately recommend it to you. Right now it's about $35 on Steam, so it's a little bit much, but you can probably get it on sale. and it will be worth it if you do, trust me. So yeah, highly recommend it, and I think the potential is much higher than Battle Brothers. I mean, already I think it surpasses Battle Brothers in many ways, graphically and aesthetically, at least personally to me. I wasn't fan of, I'm not the biggest fan of the little, art style for Battle Brothers. I felt like it clashed with the theme of that game, but that's a side issue. But if you guys do want me to take a look at Battle Brothers, definitely let me know in the comments. I would love to see your opinion on that. And as always, thank you guys for watching. This is Powerhouse, signing off.